Gender equality in the Philippines on the Filipino woman.
The contribution of the Catholic Church or the Church in feminism, and I said there is none.
That was activist nun Sister Mary John Mananzan, who is pro-RH law, speaking during a forum that seeks to enlighten women.
Gender equality is a basic human right. In the Philippines, there is a gap in gender equality, especially for women. It is believed that women are still facing inequality in wages, workplace treatment, and opportunities. This has become a hindrance for women's integral human development, often being abused, harassed, and objectified as an outcome of inequality.
Now, what can we say about the gender inequality in the Philippines? Where did this problem originate? Perhaps the most identifiable sources of this epidemic in the Philippines are first, the colonization of the Spaniards that dates back to 1521, and second, the major influence of Jose Rizal's works. It is believed that pre-colonial Filipino women were treated much more differently than they are today. Women were seen as very reliable judges in the council because of their wisdom and nature's mothers. They were treated with respect and were valued in the community. The wives had equal share of goods and ownership of most things, wherein it is known that Philippine tradition of sharing salaries with their spouses existed during that time.
Although they were important in their own communities, they were not regarded as so from outside invasions. When the Spaniards came under the leadership of Miguel Lopez de Magaspi, the status of women were changed indefinitely. Women that time were stripped of rights, often having no involvement in anything related to politics, business, and the like. This was actually the development of the finer rich mentality, since women were never treated as people who can achieve success by themselves. This in turn led Filipinos to practice more home-related skills such as cooking and cleaning, and were never considered any form of recognition.
The Spanish established a tradition of subordinating women, which manifested in women's generally submissive attitudes and a double standard of sexual conduct, leading to inferiority complex. Unfortunately, despite challenges to the unequal distribution of rights, male dominance was achieved in this era and has since then influenced and produced a mentality that subtly exists today, stating that women are inferior to men.
And for the second source, at the time of Rizal's popular novel, Noli Me Tangere, the character Maria Clara was born. She was considered as the ideal Filipina, showing traits of ladylike gentleness, a considerate personality, quiet kindness, and devotion, and was promoted by Rizal as his ideal woman or wife during the Spaniard occupation. Although it seems like his portrayal of the ideal Filipino is positive, the traits also included being submissive, uncomplaining, and voiceless, often just associating it with being a perfect housewife rather than a partner of equal respect and right. The Maria Clara standard has been in the influence of many young Filipinas as taught to them by their respective parents as well as their school teachers. Since it has become part of the Philippines Constitution to discuss Rizal and his works in all educational institutions, Maria Clara's influence has become unescapable knowledge for every educated Filipino. Because of this, many women fall victim to misogynists who take advantage of their submissive and ideal nature. Said by French thinker Simone de Beauvoir, when an individual is kept in a situation of inferiority, the fact is that he does become inferior. Following these sources, along with the present influence of foreign and even cultural stereotypes and double standards, we can understand it in a more historical context. Now knowing this still exists, what does our role as Catholics and Filipinos tell us?
In our faith, we are taught that we are all equal in the eyes of God. Any person, of any color, and any title. We are all the same in the image and likeness of the Lord. Aside from that, it is also common knowledge that we are all the same in the eyes of the state and the law. With that in mind, how could we, of the same species and of the same Creator, even consider the thought that one specific can be superior to another? In this case, how are men better than women? A popular quote by Ernest Hemingway says, "There is nothing noble in being superior to your fellow men. True nobility is being superior to your former self." Wherein men refers to all individuals, not only males. The Church sees the act of unequal treatment as an act of sin against her fellow neighbor.
As residents of the Philippines, we must respect our identity and our fellow Filipinos and Filipinas. After all, it was already in our tradition, cult, and culture, long before colonization, to treat all members of our community with great respect and equal appreciation. We should see the act of unequal treatment as an act of disrespect to our roots and all that is fair and just. Finally, how can we achieve gender equality then, if it is so deeply rooted in our culture and tradition?
What started it is influence, and influence can also end it. It is evident in our current time that this problem is being addressed both in social media and real-life situations. Protests, advocacies, movements have sprouted all across the world to fight off this particular injustice. Participation in non-radical movements, petitioning for fair and reasonable provisions, or simply identifying an unequal practice and influencing people to condemn it are some of the ways to help resolve this. Believe it or not, some products of inequality include rape, domestic abuse, and catcalling. We can provide and share this information among people that we are connected with to convince that these wrongs are deeply rooted in the developed cultural mentality and we must change it. As students, sons and daughters, and future leaders, we can already influence the minds of our peers to eliminate the culture that hinders women's rights. Talking to them about inequality, causes and effects can already leave an impression. Every word and every situation, no matter how small, can make a big impact to one's subconscious and personal growth. Therefore, we must engrave this injustice while the young minds are still ripe. Educational institutions or any form of influential authority should not ignore this epidemic and respond willingly to influence the youth in their early stages so no person will grow accustomed to step on others.
Gender equality is a basic human right, and we are all responsible for its preservation.